Alpine Road near Windsor Lake Boulevard. We still working that accident. Also, Broad River Road at Lost Creek. I-77 northbound at Percival Road. Sumter at Elmwood, and Highway 262 near I-77. That Spring Lake forecast continues. High 74 today, cloudy, and 71 tomorrow. Clouds, 74 for your Friday. Right now, it's a little bit overcast and 51.
All right, extra point. Terry Ford, Jack Veltri, Tyler is here, and he still can't talk, Jack.
He's radio silent over there. I waved him, and he's just like...
He's got nothing.
I feel for you, Tyler.
You know what? My man, he told me today, because he can whisper in like little minutes, and he's like, yeah, I'm so desperate. I read something where eating potatoes. So he tried eating gargling potatoes.
Where'd you get this from? Like on TikTok or something?
Get ready. I read this on Facebook. Whenever one of my friends or family says, "You won't believe I read on Facebook today," I'm like, oh, "No, we're done. We're not doing this."
I think we need Morse code or something to get us by through the rest of the week here.
Yeah, that's what we can do. Tyler can just do Morse code,
sign language,
whatever he thinks. We could have an interpreter.
Yes.
And Tyler can write it down, and we'll have somebody read it.
There we go.
On the air.
AI is advanced enough to where
we can get Tyler's voice.
Yeah.
Off of AI, we can have an AI voice of Tyler, and Tyler can just type into a keypad, and it'll play over the computer.
It's perfect. I like it.
I like this. Tyler, we're done. We got you.
Yeah.
You're good the rest of the week.
Yeah, just going home.
All right, so something, I'm not going to lie to you, something, I'm not going to say I was shocked and stunned and oh my God, but I'm not going to, it was kind of surprising how everything went down in Baton Rouge last night there, Jack.
How about
that start?
I mean, that was their best half of the season last night, by far, against LSU.
Best half of the last 2 years, probably.
I was not expecting that last night.
Well, first of all, they don't miss a shot for the first 9 minutes.
Yeah.
And the shot that was missed, Simeon misses a bunny that he should have dunked.
Yeah. And then he got the ball back and then he got blocked.
Right.
So, look, they were awesome last night.
They kicked it, man.
50 points in the first half. That's the most in a half all season.
10 threes, 51% from the floor.
It was like watching a completely different basketball team.
I'll throw this at you because, again, this isn't what it would look. You don't ever build a team to do that, right? That was crazy last night. But this is kind of the road that Lamont saw when he put the team together. Now, it hasn't done that consistently. I mean, it did a little bit early in the season when you were playing dudes from the Y. But as the season's gone on, we haven't seen anything close to this.
No, you haven't.
But this is kind of the blueprint, sort of kind of making threes, opening up the floor, blah, blah, blah. We saw a little bit of what it's supposed to look like. I'm not going to say that's the way it's going to be the rest of the year now. Yeah. But that's kind of, Lamont probably sat down after the game going, okay, that's sort of kind of what I was thinking about on the offensive end of the court.
You kind of now have to, if you're South Carolina, you got to go out there and prove it that you can do this for another game. Now, They did it extremely well in the first half. And by the way, Elijah Strong was unconscious.
Ridiculous.
It was like, I'm watching that game on TV, and he's just shooting threes, and it's like every shot he took was going in. He had 14 points in the first 5 minutes of that game.
I'm telling you, he went to the first TV timeout, and he had 14 points. It was crazy.
I mean, and he was electric last night. Finished with 30 points, helped South Carolina, 78-68 win. He did foul out, but also, Terry, his defense, which has been under heavy criticism this year, he did a great job last night guarding, the two guys that you worried about in LSU's front court did nothing last night. So defensively, we're great in the first half. The problem was
played second half.
the second half. It's not a 20-minute basketball game. It's a 40-minute game, and South Carolina looked much more like the team that we saw from the Vanderbilt game, for instance. But the good thing I could say about South Carolina in that second half, for all the things that went wrong, because LSU played a lot better as expected, they never let the lead up.
Nope.
They continued to persevere, stayed in front, and eventually made some shots in the end to where they were able to put the game away. So that's the biggest difference, I think, between last year, honestly, where South Carolina could never close a game out.
And here's the interesting part. Last year, if you look at last year's team and this year's team, last year's team had a better player. You had an NBA lottery pick last year. This year, you don't have that. Last year, you couldn't find a way to close games, and it was a bunch of goofy stuff. There was no rhyme or reason to what happened to them last year. Obviously, they lacked talent. They didn't have guys in correct roles, but they would blow leads last year. Just all of a sudden, they do everything right for 5 minutes and everything wrong the next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So and you're right. Last night, when that thing got to 6 and 4, and I'm not gonna lie to you. Ready? Raise your hand if you thought, "Oh my God, they're gonna blow this thing." Right here.
I was getting
here.
I was getting nervous.
I was a little like, because I was like this. Oh, it's gonna suck tomorrow to come and talk about blowing a 25-point lead.
It was a 28 point lead at one point.
25 at half.
Yeah, 25 at half. It was as high as 28, and it got down to like 6, I think.
I think it was 6. It was 6. At 6, and LSU had the ball. I think is the way it went.
Yeah, it was
I was just like, no, please, God, because remember we went through this for the football team at A&M.
I know.
I'm like, oh God, not another one of these. But to their credit, and you nailed it, they made enough shots. Remember, Strong comes back in the game with the 4 fouls because him sitting did not help them. Him getting in foul trouble and sitting in the second half didn't help them because he was such a heater. But he came back in. And he once again hit that shot.
Hit that big 3. Eli Ellis hits a 3 right after. I think that put the game at like 12 maybe with like
and if
few
you're
minutes to
LSU,
go.
I mean, look, this is just because if you look at stats like we do of the opposition, and you see a dude who's hitting 21% from 3 coming into the game in Eli Ellis, who was supposed to be a good 3-point shooter coming out of high school. And all of a sudden this guy he hit a 3 in the first half. Then he hits a big 3 late in the game. If you're Matt McMahon, you're like, the guy who hits 20% from 3 just nailed a 3 on us. But to South Carolina's credit, they made big shots and big plays down the stretch to win the game when that thing started to teeter.
The other thing I will say, Terry, is that LSU missed so many shots in this game.
Open shots.
And here's the thing. They dominated the rebound battle. They had 42 rebounds last night. South Carolina just didn't have nearly as many. I mean, they only had 11 in the second half. Right. So not good from a rebounding standpoint, but the thing is, and I say South Carolina's defense was really good in the first half, but let's be honest, there were a lot of open looks that LSU was missing. LSU was not a good 3-point shooting team. Yeah. Missed a lot of looks. They eventually hit some in the second half, but overall, I think this game, South Carolina won this game, no doubt. Played really well for the most part, but LSU probably spotted a lot of points because defense wasn't particularly great, and then also they're just not making shots.
Yeah, I've always said this because whenever you look at a box score, and I got it right here, whenever you look at a box score and you go like this, because we all do it, right? Again, we all look at box scores. Let me get the box score here, to your point. I'm going to look at the box score, and I'm going to go, wow, LSU shot 39% from the floor. Wow, that was some good D. When you watch the game, in basketball especially, teams miss open shots. It's not about your defense. It's not you guarded a guy. It's not you got a guy, you hand a guy's mug. It's not you took the other team off of their rhythm. It's just they miss shots. It happens. It happens in hoop, man. You'll have a game where you got open looks and you can't can them, and a lot of that happened last night with LSU. Do I think South Carolina gave more effort defensively than we've seen? Consistent effort? Yes. But let's not pretend all of a sudden these guys have become the 85 Bears, right? I mean, there's going to be limitations defensively with this basketball team all year. To their credit last night, and I'll give Elijah Strong credit, he gave more consistent effort on the defensive end last night.
Totally.
And last night was, are you going to take that blueprint and move forward? Well, hopefully, because you got to win. But, ready? Can you depend on making shots every shot for the first 9 minutes of a game? No. But I guess if you're Lamont, what you're selling is hope here, right? To a fan base, to the athletic director, to your team. And against a 12-2 squad who hadn't lost a home game all year, you went in there and you torched it in the first half and you played well enough in the second half. And if you're Lamont, you're selling the hope everywhere, right?
Like this is going to happen throughout the rest of the season where South Carolina is going to have these games where they're just shooting out the gym. Like, like we can probably expect to see this. I don't know if it'll happen on Saturday. That's the thing. The big thing will be if this happens on Saturday against Georgia at home, you're feeling good. You got a win under your belt. You got some of the pressure off you. Hopefully it'll be a good crowd on Saturday now as a result of that.
Right.
You have a good game on Saturday. You start turning this into a little bit of a snowball effect, and then you go into, SEC play in general is going to be tough. Not as tough as last year, I would say.
No.
But for South Carolina, they really need to find a way to stack some of these good performances, even if it's not shooting, 57% from three-point range last night with 12 threes. Even if you're hitting 7 or 8 threes, if you're giving better effort on defense like you were last night and also being aggressive, they did a good job getting to the free throw line, I thought, last night.
Let's see what they got. 21 trips to the line.
Yeah, 16 of 21. So you did a pretty good job attacking the paint, doing what you needed to do against Vanderbilt, but you failed to do it there. You do it against LSU, and you hit some three-point shots. That's a good that was an all-around good game for South Carolina last
Two quick points. One, South Carolina took 53 shots in total, only 21 from three. Typically, they're taking almost half their shots from three.
It's crazy.
Isn't that weird? Last night, you had your best offensive game against a real opponent, and you shot less threes. And you went to the basket more, you attacked more, you got to the line 21 times compared to LSU's 14. Matter of fact, you made 16 free throws, LSU shot 14. So that's always a nice recipe. The other part of this, Jack, and when you're making shots, everybody wants to play D now, right? Everybody's feeling good, dude. Yeah. You bang that thing right, you're coming back down court, slapping the floor like you're playing a Cameron. All of a sudden, everybody's playing defense because you're making shots. You're feeling good. All of a sudden, that energy goes back down the defensive end of the court. When you're a team that's built like that on offense, and you're actually executing and making the shots that you were brought here to make, everybody wants to guard people all of a sudden. It's really weird how that energy translates from one end of the court to the other. Just saying. It's crazy.
They really need to have a good performance on Saturday because that will.
Yeah. And Georgia got their bleep kicked last night.
Yeah.
At Gainesville.
Yeah, I know. What was it? 92-77.
Yeah, they got smacked.
Yeah.
So, and Georgia has only lost one game all year going into that tilt last night.
Yeah. And that will certainly be probably another quad one game. That's the other thing. South Carolina not just got their first SEC win, they got a big quad one win last night.
Absolutely.
So, most of SEC play will probably be quad one, maybe top end of quad two games. They're going to have a lot of opportunities here. And look, I'm not saying go book your flights for an NCAA tournament, but seriously, if this team can play like this more times than not, they're going to beat teams. It's just a matter of can they do it consistently.
Well, that's what it's got to be. And we're not sitting here saying, like you said, expecting you to hit 57% of your threes every night. That's not going to happen. But if you can run this offense the way it's supposed to be run, the way Lamont visioned it, and that formula last night of attacking more and playing to your strength more, which is making twos and getting to the line, if you can make enough threes, all of a sudden this offense becomes more efficient. Defensively, you're always going to have issues, man. This is not a good defensive team. It's just not. You got a couple of decent perimeter defenders in Knox and Studi, but for the most part, you're going to struggle on D. But if you're making shots, offensively, and you're feeling better about yourself the other end of the court, and at least you're trying to play defense and giving effort, that's the formula to knock off a few teams, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, just if anything, you got to force teams to miss shots, and that's what South Carolina did last night. So again, really good win for them. But now the goal is to try and stack it into multiple games where you're doing this consistently, and we'll see if they do it on Saturday.
And hopefully you get a team in Georgia that's going to be limping in after getting boat raced last night by Florida.
Yeah.
And maybe you got a Georgia team that'll be, coming in here with not the same chest pump that they had going into Gainesville. And you're at home, like you said, maybe you have a nice,
Get some
rowdy
juice.
crowd, a little juice. And who knows, maybe you can stack 2, and then who knows, man. Hope is the name of the day, is the word for the day, Jack.
500 in conference play right now.
Hope is where we're at. All right, we'll come get back in here on the extra point. Portal action for South Carolina. Coming in. We have one going out, but coming in. We'll get into that next here on the extra point. Jack, Terry Ford, Tyler is here. He just can't talk. We're rolling till 11 here on the game. Extra point. Tyler's here, run the show, can't talk. Terry Ford filling in. Jack's here from Gamecock Central. Elijah is going to jump in and hang out with you in the 10 o'clock hour.
Let's go.
Yeah, man.
I haven't talked to him
You just get a bunch of different people hanging out with you, man.
I like it.
Not that you. No, I mean, no, let's do that again. I miss Tyler a lot, Terry, but this is fun just talking to other people.
I love Tyler.
There we go.
He's my man. He is my co-host. But I do like having friends.
Yeah, there you go. That's why you never want to act like you don't miss Tyler.
I'm sad that you're leaving me, though.
See, there you go. That's how you do it.
Dude, what the heck?
But you're happy that you get to talk to Elijah.
Yeah.
See, there you go. There you go. We got to work on this relationship building with you.
I
really do. We really do. Hey, you know what makes everybody feel good? A little sandstorm. Hit it.
Yes.
I need my hanky.
Time to get hyped. Here's your 9 a.m. Sandstorm, sponsored by George Sink Injury Lawyers. Just call all nines.
There we go. A little sandstorm last night. South Carolina, 10-point win over LSU. A 28-point lead in the first half, 25 at halftime. You had to hang on, but you hung on. That's what matters. So a little sandstorm in celebration of Lamont and the crew getting their first SEC win. All right, let's focus on the portal. There was some good news in the portal for the Gamecocks.
Some great news. Got 3 portal pickups yesterday after I think everyone was kind of like, is Shane Beamer going to get anybody? What's the deal? Only got 1 portal commitment through 4 days. Well, went out and got 3 guys yesterday. So look, you got to let Beamer cook. That should be hold up, let him cook. They got 2 offensive linemen yesterday. Carter Miller from UCF, who's also been at a lot of different schools. James Madison was one of them, and ULM was the other one.
Yep.
So been at 3 schools. This will be his 4th stop. Then you got Hank Purvis, who started at Purdue. So Big Ten offensive lineman. And then you got Jordan Thomas, who comes from Georgia. So look, I mean, you get. I guess is this considered Kirby Smart's this is the sloppy seconds? Is it his leftovers? Did he? I mean, look, anything you take from Georgia is fine.
Sure.
So means he's a good player. It's he's got to be decent enough to be recruited by Kirby Smart.
He's got skills,
yes.
Right? Didn't play much last year because, again, they got a lot of guys with skills at Georgia, especially on the defensive line. I was reading one of his, the capsule of him from high school. Tons of athleticism, a lot of upside, high ceiling. A guy, if he could reach the ceiling that people think he could be a dude that could give you some pass rush from the interior, athletic for his size. There's a lot of good physical tools there. You got to wait your turn at Georgia. This is, you know what I thought about this too, Jack? When one of the things we've been talking about with this NIL transfer portal era is all the big dogs like Georgia, like Alabama, like an Ohio State. They're still going to be really good, but the problem is they don't have the depth. And here's one of your examples. Before the transfer portal NIL era, our boy Jordan might just wait his turn at Georgia, right? Now he's sitting around like this. Hell with that, man. I want to go play. Let's hit the portal and see what I can do. And he's going to land at another Power 4 school that needs help in the interior. He's going to get some NIL dough, and he's going to transfer, and he's going to get a chance to play and get reps and show what he can do.
He'll have a chance to start because South Carolina needs to replace 2 starters on the interior.
You got 1 guy right now.
So you got 1.
Now you got 2.
Oh, wait. So who was the other guy?
You got Brownlow Dindy.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
And you got 1 guy, and you got 2 guys who are gone in Goodwine and Barrett.
So there's your.
So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I haven't seen, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen Brownlow Dindy put out anything public that he's coming. I think he's one of the few guys left that hasn't. But
he hasn't hit the portal.
But at this point, he's probably coming back. So.
Right. But you're right. These guys announce it now.
Yeah.
That they're coming back.
I know.
And we haven't heard anything, but he hasn't hit the portal. There's been no smoke about him doing the portal. So, Jordan Thomas, and we'll talk about him. We'll only talk about him now. What the heck? And we'll move on to the offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Next segment. With Thomas, he's going to get his chance, like you said, to start because you got 1 guy in Brownlow Dindy. But you do, look, Pikes And I think Miles also has eligibility left. I think he has one more year.
I'm pretty sure. I'll double check on that. But you'd have 4 guys right there.
And that's good. And you know, with Jordan Thomas's high ceiling and potential, he could move ahead of Pikes and Miles, and maybe become a starter. But if not, he's in a rotation with these guys. Nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong at all. So. Yeah. Devontae
Pikes
Miles
had a lot of good moments at the end of the year.
He did. He had, a sack in the Clemson game?
He played well against Clemson.
Yeah, he did. So yeah, Pikes would be back. Miles has another year of eligibility. So
we haven't heard anything from him leaving.
No. So there's been a few guys in defense we haven't heard. I don't think we've heard from Judge Collier or anything.
How funny is all this?
It's so silly. It's such a different world we live in.
We haven't heard if anybody's coming back yet. Okay, hasn't hit the portal, hasn't made an announcement. We guess he's coming back. So,
but yeah, I mean, you have a pretty good nucleus on your defensive line right now. You probably want to go out there and get another edge rusher.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, Desu could be really good.
Could be.
JT Gear have another year of eligibility. I honestly, I can't even remember.
Gear's been here now. Is it 3 years?
I believe this. If he came back for another year, it'd be his third.
Because he was at Syracuse for a couple years.
Actually, no, wait, sorry.
I think he's done.
He is not eligibility. Sorry,
I think
guys.
He's done.
Yep, redshirt season.
We thought he could always go to court and sue.
Look, I mean, yeah.
He go hang out with Pavia.
So you're going to need another edge rusher. Look, I don't know if you're getting Chaz Coleman from Penn State because he took a visit to LSU, was posted up with Lane. He's on a visit to Ohio State. I mean, no offense, but those are the big dogs, and going to be tough to.
And there's a lot of money.
Oh yeah, a lot of moolah. So.
I mean, but you do need another edge. Look, in the perfect world, you find another Kyle Kennard. You'd love to put across.
That'd be great.
From Dylan Stewart. Look, Brian Thomas was solid last year. He wasn't Kyle Kennard. He was good. He wasn't Kyle
7 sacks. Pretty good.
I mean, honestly, and you know, there were some games where, and again, part of this is because Dylan Stewart was doubled and tripled and chipped and tackled and held and everything else. So Thomas got one-on-one opportunities, and to Brian Thomas's credit, he took advantage of it last year at times. But he wasn't Kyle Kennard. You would love to have another guy who could really affect and wreck the game and get a Kennard-Stewart combination again. Would that be great? Sure. But you need another edge guy across from Stewart that has some type of resume that you know when Dylan Stewart's getting tackled and held and chipped and doubled and tripled, the guy on the other side can make people pay.
Absolutely.
That's what you need.
Yeah, you totally need that. And honestly, you go back to Kennard as the example. He even before Dylan was getting double and triple teamed and whatnot, Kennard was so good to the point where it freed up, it forced defenses to have to pick and choose. And so if you get somebody like that to come in next year and be that Kennard that can kind of take some of the pressure off Stewart, you're going to have got less double teams. Maybe you still do, who knows? But that just means the guy that's coming off the other side of the edge is going to have a ton of sacks.
Well, I'll give you an example of it. 2 years ago in Tuscaloosa. Remember that first half Kennard had against Bama?
Yeah.
Where he just destroyed Alabama's passing attack? If you watch that game back, Alabama made a choice. They made the choice to stop Dylan Stewart. And Kennard wrecked them in a lot of ways in that first half. That's the template, right? Get a guy in here who, if Stewart's going to get all that attention, that other guy can make you pay dearly.
It's proven to work. And so I think that is what they need to find. That might be the most important thing you do the rest of the portal cycle. You're going to go out there and get your offensive linemen, your D linemen, your receivers, this and that. You'll get guys to fill different holes. The biggest hole I think you have right now is that other edge spot, just because you're bringing Dylan Stewart back for his junior year. We expect him to be a game wrecker this upcoming season. You need someone else to really help him out there.
Right, and look, to Dylan Stewart's credit last year, because again, he didn't get sack numbers or pressure numbers like he did his freshman year, but he played the run better last year.
Yeah.
He focused on playing the run better last year as well, not just played it better. He said, look, I've got to play the run, and he did. Did he get frustrated at times because he wasn't getting to the quarterback like he was before? Sure. I mean, he's a sophomore. He's never had trouble getting sacks and pressures and hits. Last year, the SEC said, you know what? We're not going to let you do it. Let the other guys beat us. If you can get somebody over there to make them pay, free up Dylan Stewart a little bit, It's only going to help. All right, we will talk about these offensive line portal additions because Jack's watched tape on both of them for hours. So we're going to get to that next here on the Extra Point. Jack Veltri, Terry Ford, Tyler's here punching buttons because he can't talk. We'll talk transfer portal next on the game.
If you're a small business owner, a church, or other entity in need of a new HVAC system, AAA Heating and Air has exciting news for you. AAA now offers financing to qualified organizations to aid them in installing new light commercial HVAC systems. So it's as easy as calling AAA Heating and Air for a quote today or finding them online at call AAA Heating or call AAA today.com. Tell them Jack from 107.5 The Game sent you. At AAA Heating and Air, they've got your back. They're offering up to 12-month payment plans on repairs with no credit check required. That's right. No need to worry about your credit score. As long as you're a homeowner with a valid bank account, you'll be good to go. So take control of your comfort today. Give AAA a call at 803-677-1500. Again, the number to call AAA Heating and Air is 803-677-1500. Give them a call today and breathe easy again.
clock at 10. Ball stays on the perimeter. It's strong at the top of the key. He decides to take matters into his own hands. Backs down under the basket, goes up and under for the reverse, and he scores.
What a big hoop.
Really was. And all one-on-one there. Elijah Strong just making it happen.
2 of Elijah Strong's 30 last night as South Carolina got out strong, got out fast, didn't miss a shot for the first 9 minutes. Ended up shooting over 50% from the floor in the first half, banging 10 threes, 25-point lead at the half, as high as 28 in the first half, and then held on for dear life, beats LSU by 10. The lead got to 6, but South Carolina made some plays in crunch time, and Lamont's crew holds on for a 78-68 W. 1-1 in the SEC, 10-4 overall are the Gamecocks. We'll get back to Gamecock hoops in the next segment, but the transfer portal openeth, Jack Veltri, and we talked about getting an interior defensive lineman in Jordan Thomas from Georgia, a 4-star, couple of offensive linemen from the portal, a center and a guard.
Mm-hmm. So Carter Miller started 9 games at center, this past season. So this is a guy that has played center, but also has started games at guard over the years. Like I said, at 3 different schools at JMU, ULM, and then at UCF.
Better pass protector if you look at Pro Football Focus than run blocker.
His pass blocking grade. I was looking it up from, I think it was from ULM or whatever, like a 76 pass blocking grade on PFF. So, look, PFF is not the full indicator of what a player is or isn't.
It just gives us a little snapshot. That's all.
Yeah. Especially for linemen. It's a little tough to gauge without watching.
Wait, you're not grading linemen when you're watching games?
Wow. No comment. But yeah, you got him, and then you got Hank Purvis, who is, Terry, this guy's a unit. 6'5", 360-pound interior guard who started 6 games this past season.
Big human being.
So I think we'll see what else they get in the portal. They're obviously going to go out there and get more linemen. But I think if you start the season today, you have Miller at center, and then you have Purvis at one of your guard spots outside.
And Purvis last year had a good, again, not it's religion, but almost a 72 pass blocking grade.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about, Purvis is so large. I'm like, and I guess I'll go to YouTube and look for Hank Purvis film. Can he move? What kind of system of offense are you running? What are you looking for your offensive lineman to do? And with his pass blocking grade being good, okay, so he can, pass protect, seems solid. In the run game, I'm just looking at the grade here. The run game for Purvis, his blocking grade was 61.3, which 70 is a sweet spot, so it's a below average run blocking grade. But again, was he asked to, can he pull? Because, some offenses, you want your guards to pull. Sometimes you just want them to go straight ahead and run people over. What are you asking Purvis to do in the run game here? What is, Bryles and Clements going to be asking him to do? And obviously, you're finding guys to try to fit what you want to do. He played, I think, too, Jack, off the top of my head. He was at UNLV when they played that go up-tempo offense a couple years ago with Barry Odom. I think I heard that he came from UNLV to Purdue and Purdue.
I believe
he came with Barry Odom.
Believe you're right on that.
And they played a very fast-paced offense at UNLV 2 years ago.
Yes, so he was at UNLV.
So if you want to play fast here, this guy played fast before 2 years ago.
Here's the thing. They're going to be playing fast. That is what this offense is going to be. And I also think that's probably what South Carolina is looking for in the portal is, yes, they have a lot of offensive linemen on visits coming in and checking the place out. But they're probably bringing in guys that are like, hey, if you're going to be a part of this Kendall Bryles offense, and look, Purvis is a big dude, but it doesn't matter. As long as he's able to be athletic enough to, if they're running a tempo offense, no huddle, then he's got to be able to move up and down the field. And that's what the conditioning is going to be about, too. So maybe there's some change between now and the start of the season, but you're bringing in offensive linemen who fit the not skill set necessarily, but the style,
system of offense.
The style of offense you're trying to run.
And that was a good thing, because I saw his size. I'm like, mother of God, this is a large human being. But then I saw that he came from UNLV where he had played in an up-tempo offense. Because, again, look, not to be mean, when you see that weight, you're like, This guy understands they're going to play fast, right?
But here's the good thing.
But he has before.
He could be a wall. I mean,
absolutely.
360. I mean,
360, man. You and I together aren't 360. You know that, right?
Like, yeah, no. I mean, like the average offensive lineman's probably what, like 315, 320. I mean,
I mean,
you get some big dudes there like 330, but I don't know if I've seen 360.
360 is a large man.
It's like how big was the fridge back in the day?
He was probably 340, 350.
Jeez.
Remember back then, though, 340 and 350 was, oh my God, who'd you eat?
I know.
Like, did you eat some of your teammates? But now, a lot of guys are playing over $3 bills.
God, what was the fridge's real name? It was
William Refrigerator Perry.
Ah, yes.
His brother Michael Dean Perry was a hell of a player.
Yeah, you'll have to forgive me for asking because that is well before my time.
Really, you weren't around in '85, Jack?
Yeah, I was probably somewhere.
Yeah, I'll say this: my old butt was around in '85, so I remember William the Refrigerator Perry. All right, so right now we still have visits coming in. Offensive linemen are coming in for visits. You still need to. Now I'll ask you this because right now your thought is you need 2 tackles. Shed Surratt last year played guard, a little bit of tackle. Is that thought process in the back of their head? Maybe Surratt, depending on who you can get in here, could he kick out and play tackle? Because right now you got 0 starting tackles.
He probably could play tackle. I mean, there was a game, I believe, if I remember
He went out and played. Late in the year, he kicked out. Remember, Tree disappeared.
Yeah, Tree just went.
Once Elliott took over as the offensive line coach, Tree disappeared. Just saying.
Yeah, so
I don't know what that means. I'm just saying.
Well, it means he's at Nebraska now, so he's
right with Lonnie.
Yeah, with Lonnie. I mean, I don't understand that move at all.
You know what? And since we're having this conversation really quick, look, part of the problem. When your offensive line is this bad, it's not just one person's problem. But it feels like when you get rid of your offensive line coach during the season, it kind of tells you what the coach is seeing. But that's the one thing about all these offensive linemen leaving. And Shane said, look, Clement and, Browse didn't come in and say, okay, all of you suck, get out. That wasn't what happened. So, but if these offensive linemen, was it the idea, okay, was some of this NIL money? Yeah, obviously. Was some of this also, look, nobody's starting jobs guaranteed anymore? Yes. But are you surprised that so many of them are gone and none of them stayed to see what they could do with a new regime, a new teaching by a new offensive line coach?
Not necessarily, because I feel like, and again, I don't know what the actual case is with this. I feel like it was just South Carolina being like, look, like,
if you want to stay, stay.
If you want to stay, if you don't. Like they are fine either way, right? And I think also they just need you could not possibly have run it back with the same group of offensive linemen. I think if you're Shane Beamer, if you're Randy Clements, you want to get new guys in there. I hate to say it, sorry guys, better guys in there to hopefully lead to a much better offensive line. So. Look, it's not surprising to see so many guys leave. And also, I think a lot of these guys just need a fresh start somewhere else. So
yeah, that too. And I'll say this, because, look, this is just the world we live in. You're doing these NIL deals every year. If you're one of these offensive linemen, I get that whoever's repping you wants more money.
That's also the problem.
But I'm just going to be honest here. If I'm the guy in charge of that deal, if I'm the capologist, so to speak, for the college, for my college football program, and one of these guys comes to me for more money, I'm going to say, can we watch some tape?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because, look, it's a negotiation, right?
Yeah.
And and there was some stuff about Ball, could possibly been NIL. Maybe Josiah Thompson could have been. But you guys, Josiah Thompson was worse last year than he was his freshman year.
Yeah, so why would you give him more money?
I mean, really, you'd be nice to give him the same, right?
You're not scraping at the barrel, but it's like you only have so much money, and so you're going to allocate it to players that have proven to do it, and that's going to be through the transfer portal.
So how much of this also was, wait a minute, you want more or what? Huh?
I feel like it definitely played into it.
It has to. All right, we'll pop back in here, reset a little bit of what happened last night in Baton Rouge with a victory for the South Carolina over LSU. Also, Black Monday became Black Tuesday in the NFL. We'll touch on that before we get out of here, too. It's the Extra Point. Tyler is here. He just can't talk. Jack Velcher, Gamecock Central. Terry Ford. Elijah's going to come in here and hang out with Jack at 10 here on the game. Extra point. Terry Ford hanging in. Is Tyler still trying to work his voice back? Eating potatoes.
Doing those.
Said he'll try anything
things
at this point.
Yeah, I don't
So,
blame
hey,
him. Respect the grind.
hit the Firehouse subtext line or the YouTube chat. Old wives' tale remedies for Tyler to eat or drink to get his voice back. Feel free. Feel free. All right, so last night, a really nice win in Baton Rouge.
They needed it.
For the Gamecocks men. Eli Ellis hit a huge three late in the game. Tyler, pop that up for us on the highlight real quick, because this was a gigantic shot. And Eli Ellis has been struggling from three.
Beachy Johnson behind the screen. They switch. He's guarded by a much bigger man. That means Elijah's not. Ellis in the corner. Three ball up and good. Eli Ellis buries a clutch three for the Gamecocks.
That was clutch. Eli Ellis last night hits a big corner three. South Carolina wins. Elijah Strong went nuts with 30. Michi had 19. Again, first half was like ridiculous. Didn't miss a shot the first 9 minutes. Shot over 50% from the floor. Hit 10 threes. It was insane. Insane.
Just ridiculous, man.
And a 50-point first half. Only a 28-point second half.
Yeah,
Jack.
yeah. I mean, that lead did get pretty close. So it's like
got a little.
Look, after going to College Station and seeing football blow a 27-point lead. I mean, this would not have been surprising.
You're sitting there going, you can't blow a 28-point lead.
Nah, you can't one up the football.
Yeah, that's right. Hold my beer.
Yeah,
hold my beer. Hey Shane, what Lamont? So the good news is, South Carolina holds on. You beat LSU. You win by 10. You get your first SEC win, first road win in 2 years.
Since
almost.
December 3rd, 24, against, you were at Boston College for the SEC ACC Challenge. So
it's been almost a year and a half.
Congratulations. It's over a year at this point.
Got that road thing done. So that was big. Come back this weekend, Saturday, play Georgia, 1:30 pregame, 2 o'clock tip, I believe, here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia and our affiliate in Myrtle Beach, 100.3 The Game. Georgia just got whooped in Gainesville, 92-77. So maybe you get a team coming in here a little wounded, not feeling as confident, and maybe you can stack a couple in a row. We'll see. Georgia's good, man. Georgia's good.
Hey, LSU was good, too. So
we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens. So thumbs up for South Carolina's men last night. Portal, we've been talking about. We didn't get a chance, and let's hit this real quick. We have visitation coming up. We still have guys who are going to be showing up. A mob will still be here come next couple days.
Yeah, you've got, so again, I'm going based off of what we have on GamecockCentral.com. You can head on over to the transfer portal headquarters to check everything out more in detail, but just based off of the reported visitor list, Bryant Williams, who is the offensive lineman from Louisiana, was here yesterday on the 6th, and he'll be here heading into the 7th today. And then Randy Pittman, a tight end from Florida State, is expected to be here for a visit today. So then tomorrow, you got Drew Collins, edge rusher from Arkansas State on the 8th. Josh Sapp, tight end from the upstate at Clemson, January 9th. So still a lot of visitors coming in.
And my favorite new name, Nitro Tuggle.
I think that's a sick name. Like that name. What a name.
You have to be good when you have that name, right?
Oh,
fast, quick, twitchy.
I would hope so.
Problem with Nitro Tuggle, I looked this up. Nitro Tuggle has this problem called dropping passes. He had 7 drops last year.
Well, I mean, nothing that Mike Furry can't fix.
That's right. His name's Nitro.
Yes.
So if he doesn't drop it, anyway. But yeah, I love that name. I just love that
It's
name.
a great name.
But I love that name Boaz last year, too.
And he didn't turn out so good.
That didn't turn out well. That was the name of a guy that could just kick the hell out of you, right?
I thought he was going to be good.
I mean, just that name, man.
I don't know what happened there.
So that teaches us don't fall in love with cool names.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, so that's what's coming up next for the transfer portal. And obviously, more offensive linemen are coming in. You have to have that edge pass rusher we were talking about. You need to get help in the secondary as well. Tight end position. There's a lot to do still. Running back. So we'll do our best to keep you up to date. Last thing before we kick out of here and Elijah will take over. John Harbaugh, second longest tenured head coach in the NFL, let go by the Ravens yesterday. Not a surprise. How it went down was interesting. 18 years is a long time to be with one, be in a relationship.
It is.
Just
yeah.
saying.
Yeah. I mean, look,
Especially as an NFL head coach.
look, this was not a good season for the Ravens. You know better than
No, no.
anyone. I mean, just not 8-9. Like the season should not have even come down.
Should not come down to a kick.
Like
No.
the Ravens probably shouldn't have even been in that position. To
No,
begin
they
with.
they should have won the North by 2 games.
Once Lamar got hurt the first time early on in the year, I'm like, all right, this thing's done. Like the Ravens are faltering. It's
1-5 to start the year.
Yeah.
Blew leads in games.
Yeah.
Look, I just look at it this way, and we don't have time to get into it. There's a lot of smoke in a lot of different directions about this going down. This basically to me is there was some talk that Lamar and Todd Monken, the OC, had started to butt heads, so to speak, which is interesting because Monken had made Lamar much better. The passing game got much better under Monken.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Lamar became a much better thrower since Monken was the OC. But there was some headbutting there. There was some talk that the Ravens basically asked John Harbaugh to get rid of Monken, and Harbaugh said no. And that was kind of like the last domino to fall.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because they should get rid of the defensive coordinator, Zach Orr.
I don't know why. I don't know why he wasn't fired midseason.
Yeah, so
I think he just need a fresh start.
So basically, Harbaugh's going to get the giant gig. So he's going to be a head coach next year. The Ravens are going to go get a guy they hope can make Lamar feel good about everything again, and we'll see where it goes, man. Good hanging out with you again. We'll do it again tomorrow because I don't think Tyler can talk again. Elijah is going to come in with Jack next.
If you're a small business owner, a church, or other entity in need of a new HVAC system, AAA Heating and Air has exciting news for you. AAA now offers financing to qualified organizations to aid them in installing a new light commercial HVAC system. It's as easy as calling AAA Heating and Air for a quote or finding them online at callAAAtoday.com. Tell them Jack from 107.5 The Game sent you. At AAA Heating and Air, they've got your back. They are offering up to 12-month payment plans on repairs with no credit check required. That's right. No need to worry about your credit score you've got there. As long as you're a homeowner with a valid bank account, you'll be good to go. So take control of your comfort today by giving a call to AAA Heating and Air at 803-677-1500. Again, 803-677-1500. Give them a call today and breathe easy again.
Second hour of the Extra Point starts right now. I'm not Tyler Head. Tyler is here, though.
He is still here.
He is still here. I'm Elijah Campbell hanging out with you. Jack Veltri here as well, rocking his New York Islanders shirt.
I'm glad you brought that up because we had the floor to talk about hockey for a second. We never get to talk about hockey on here, rarely. So
that's usually our off-air conversations.
Look, tough night for the Preds. Great night for the Islanders. 9-0 win. Shutout. Anthony Duclair had a hat trick. Just absolutely insane game last night. Look, I went to an Islander game over break on New Year's Day. They lost to the freaking Mammoth, and then they go out there. Matthew Schaefer scores a game-winning goal against the Maple Leafs, and then this. I mean, what the heck,
9-0. That's
9-0.
a beatdown.
Ilya Sorokin, and here's the thing: they did it on 24 shots, I believe. And meanwhile, the Devils took 45 shots, no goals, and Ilya Sorokin is now the all-time shutout leader for the Islanders. So, great win. They're playing really good hockey, man, and I was not expecting this at this point in the season.
Yeah, 9-0 game in which you outshot your opponent by 21 shots is about as embarrassing a loss you can get.
Crazy. Bad night for the Devils.
League. Oh, good Lord, yeah. Well, tune in at the midnight hour, and you get the Jack Veltri, Elijah Campbell NHL hour. It hasn't made the air yet. Yeah,
yeah. Maybe someday.
Someday we'll get NHL after dark. There are plenty of good NHL games this week, but there's college football playoffs to be had this week. Thursday or tomorrow night, we're flying through this week.
It's crazy.
Miami and Ole Miss playing in Atlanta.
No, they're playing in Phoenix.
They're playing in Phoenix. Oh, they are playing in Phoenix.
I'm sorry.
Right. They're playing in Phoenix.
Technically Glendale, whatever.
Yeah. Atlanta is where Indiana and Oregon are playing.
Peach Bowl Friday, Fiesta Bowl tomorrow.
Yes, that's right. I got those things swapped. But most importantly, they're college football playoff semifinal games. The one interesting thing about this, there's a lot of interesting angles to this whole thing because there's no Alabama, there's no Georgia, there's no Ohio State. And as long as we've been doing a 4-team playoff, I think there's been one of those three teams in every single semifinal.
It's crazy.
That is not going to be the case this year. But also, more importantly, there will be a head coach regardless of who wins tomorrow, regardless of who wins on Friday, and regardless who wins in the national championship game on January 19th. We will have a first-time hoister of that big, beautiful, cylinder-looking college football playoff trophy. The first time. Now, does that tell us anything about the modern state of college football? Does it say that we're kind of having an evolution or maybe a new batch of coaches who can kind of cement themselves in terms of having a championship legacy? I think it says a lot of things, including what it says about the parity of the sport itself, what the transfer portal and NIL have done to kind of disperse talent across the country, but also I think all four coaches involved in this have played a really good hand in terms of what they have been dealt, right? For all four coaches have four different paths. We know what Kurt Signetti's is. He wins. Google him. He's done it everywhere he's gone. And what he's done in Indiana is the story of the sport right now. Dan Lanning, as a defensive coordinator, he's won a title as a defensive coordinator, not as a head coach, but he has turned Oregon into a perennial contender. Is this the year they can get to a national title? We know about Ole Miss. That is very well documented with Lane Kiffin piecing out before the college football playoff and Pete Golding taking over and then pulling off an upset against Georgia. And then with Mario Cristobal, where the whole knock on him is that we know he can recruit. We know he can build a roster that is intriguing and good enough to win a national title, but they've never actually done it, right? He still had the ghost of that Georgia Tech loss where they fumbled the ball instead of taking a knee and found a way to lose that game, kind of leaning over as the perfect example of maybe his shortcomings in game management. But Jack Veltri, you look at these four coaches, you understand the fact that we will have a first-time national champion head coach. What exactly does that tell you about the state of college football?
Well, I mean, first off, all Nick Saban coaching tree, they were all Alabama assistants at one point, so there's that.
Ding, ding, ding.
Does this not feel like the Final Four from a few years ago in college basketball where you had, like, what, San Diego State?
Florida Atlantic.
Miami. Wasn't Miami?
Miami was in that one, too.
And then you had, what, UConn in the – that was what, UConn's first year of the back-to-back?
First year of the back-to-back, they eviscerated Miami. Florida Atlantic lost at the buzzer to San Diego State.
Yeah.
And UConn led wire to wire in that national title game.
Yeah, so it kind of feels like that a little bit, except these are good football teams. It's just, look, when you look at the seeding, it's kind of like, oh, Miami's a 10 seed, Ole Miss is a 6 seed, and then you have the 5 versus the 1. So, yeah, it's definitely not your run-of-the-mill Ohio State, Georgia, Bama, always in the semifinals. It's actually kind of a breath of fresh air, honestly, because who knows what we're going to get. And you mentioned Cristobal with, he's great at recruiting, great at putting together a talented team, but it's always his own shortcomings that have led to, whether it's Miami or Oregon in years past, not getting the job done. Can he continue to stay out of his own way and lead this team to, I don't want to say it's a miracle run, but it kind of is like a Cinderella run in a lot of ways, where they're just, they beat Ohio State to get to this point. They went to College Station and beat A&M. So, look, Miami's taking the hard path to get here.
Yeah.
And I think in terms of, you mentioned it before, legacy and, hoisting the trophy, somebody new is going to be hoisting that trophy. I think Cignetti, he can solidify himself as, talk about the premier crop of coaches in college football. It's Kirby, Ryan Day's in there, I would say. Am I missing anyone else?
Kirby, Ryan Day. If
coaches that
Clemson hasn't had the last couple of years they've had, you would put Dabo in there because of the multiple national championships. That does, I know people around here don't want to hear that, but that does put you in a different tier when you've won multiple, right? But there's really not many coaches outside of that have A, national championships, and B, having multiple and have done it at a sustained success for a long period of time.
I think Cignetti would be that next guy just because of what he's done in Indiana in such a short amount of time, only losing 2 games. And then you got, just what he's done overall throughout his coaching career. So, yeah, this would help, I think, solidify himself. But these other coaches definitely, can you imagine? The storylines are crazy because it's like you get the whole Lane Kiffin Ole Miss situation. Imagine they win. Imagine Ole Miss wins a national championship without the guy who got them to that point in the regular season. That would be nuts. Miami, the U would be back if they win a national championship.
Yep.
And then Oregon, we haven't talked about Oregon enough, I don't think, in this segment. Oregon's been here before. They've been to the national championship twice in the last 15 or so years. 2010, they go play in Phoenix against a really good Cam Newton-led Auburn team. They lose that game. And then
Michael Dyer's knee hits the ground, they win.
I know. And then 2014, they get smoked by Ohio State in the first college football playoff title game. So Oregon's been here before. Can they finally get that elusive national championship? There's so many good storylines, Elijah.
The Oregon thing's fascinating because they did it with 2 different head coaches, too. Chip Kelly took them to the first one, then Mark Helfrich took them to the first ever college football playoff national championship. And I think that maybe the big knock on those teams is that they weren't as physical as the teams that they played in that title game. They weren't as physical up front as Auburn was, and they also didn't have Cam Newton. That's a whole other aside. But in the Ohio State game, Ezekiel Elliott ran all over the place because they just couldn't win at the line of scrimmage. And Marcus Mariota did not play his best game as a Heisman winner because Ohio State worked him at the line of scrimmage. It's kind of been Oregon's biggest
But now Oregon is that team. They're in the Big Ten. You have to be physical. And they've been to Iowa. They've played in the rain. They've played a physical game, played an Iowa brand of football, won that game. They lost to Indiana earlier in the year. Yeah, that's the other thing. It's tough to beat a team twice in a season. Look, what was that Indiana-Oregon? That was what?
That was October 11th. That was while we were in Baton Rouge.
A long time ago. And here's the thing. Oregon's got to travel cross country here. They got to go all the way over. Well, I know they already did. They went to Florida. If
anything, this is a shorter flight.
Yeah. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised if they just stayed on the East Coast.
Honestly,
so
I wouldn't have gone back.
Look, if they are going back to Eugene and then coming all the way back out here to Atlanta, that's a lot of travel. And so, look, I think it's ultimately going to come down to, which team is going to be more physical in this Oregon-Indiana game? Can you get to Fernando Mendoza, force him into some tough throws, and then if you're Dante Moore in this Oregon offense, can you go out here and because we know what this defense can do? They shut out Texas Tech. Can they go out here, do that, and then do enough offensively to win? I don't think that'll be the key.
Yeah, that's the big thing is that can Dante Moore make enough throws throughout the course of this game against a defense that had his number the first time and be able to kind of rectify those mistakes. Going back to the whole physicality standpoint, I think that's what separates Dan Lanning maybe from a Chip Kelly and a Mark Helfrich, and what's made him one of the most highly coveted coaches there's a reason that whenever Nick Saban retired, a lot of the first reports were that Alabama really wants Dan Lanning. And because I think Dan Lanning is going to get him one, right? And one of the reasons why I think that is because he did bring an element of physicality and defensive dominance that Oregon just hasn't been known for historically in their program. You think Oregon football, you think high-flying offenses, you think offensive innovation, you think of really good quarterback play, whether it be Joey Harrington in the early 2000s, Marcus Mariota winning a Heisman and taking them to a national title game, the offenses that Dennis Dixon ran, Achilles Smith in the 90s before that. You think about high-flying offenses, but you don't necessarily think about defensive dominance, and that's an element that he's been able to bring to Oregon that I think is a little bit different than the program hasn't necessarily identified with historically. That's one of the reasons why that one is so impressive to me. But while you were talking about Cignetti earlier, I got a parallel that kind of popped in my head because I was thinking, well, let's do the hypothetical of what if Indiana is able to take care of business against Oregon, beat them twice in a year, and then win a national championship. I think that can go down as the single greatest turnaround in the history of college football, and I can compare it to someone like Bill Snyder, who joined Kansas State in, the mid-70s or 80s? I can't remember what year it was he took over. And Kansas State was this close. If you're not watching on the YouTube stream, you will see my pointer finger and my thumb being centimeters apart from each other. They were that close to disbanding their football program because no one was coming to games, they weren't winning, and the university felt like it was a waste of money. Bill Snyder comes there, they go winless in his first year, and then after that, they steadily build a program that was winning 10 games a year. And a Kansas State program that, even though they never won a national championship, won Big 12 titles.
They were always good.
They were always really good. And for that, I think some people can, I would say respectively say that Bill Snyder is one of the 5 best coaches in the history of college football because of the turnaround that he did at Kansas State.
I would say so.
Nobody's won. Kurt Cignetti, really to me, we talk about how unprecedented this feels. This would be like if Bill Snyder got over the hump and actually won Kansas State a national title. I mean, Kurt Cignetti and Bill Snyder maybe have more parallels than we might have thought.
Indiana's never been known for football.
No.
That's I'd like to say even still they're a basketball school, but honestly, man, have you heard how Indiana's even doing these days? I feel like they haven't really been good, and
they're intriguing this year. I don't know how good they are.
Yeah.
They're fun
got
to watch,
new coach. So I mean, look, here's the other thing. We're talking about history and all this stuff. If Indiana wins these next 2 games, there would be the first team in the modern era to go 16-0 in a season. We've seen teams go 14-0, 15-0 now, but to go 16-0, that's something that hasn't been done since 1894. The Yale Bulldogs in all their glory.
I remember watching those games.
And then 2019, North Dakota State. So technically, they'd just be the first FBS team.
They would.
So, I mean, look, we're talking about something that would be, we're talking Miami Dolphins level of 72 Dolphins of going undefeated in a season just at the college level. I mean, that's tough to do in a 16-game college season where you're playing. And it's not like Indiana's beaten, not good teams. They went to Eugene. They beat Bama. They beat the brakes off Bama. They beat Ohio State. So they're doing a lot of good things to get to this point.
Absolutely. And it would certainly be looked at as one of the greatest runs in the history of the sport, and certainly up there with the greatest turnaround. I guess the only one I would contend it with would be Kansas State and Bill Snyder way back in the day. But there's something about this college football playoff Final Four that we discussed the coaching angle, but there's another element to this too, because these coaches have something on the line. But there's a particular conference that has something on the line that they really need to prove, and we'll tell you what that is coming up next here on the Extra Point. Miami, Ole Miss, Indiana, Oregon. Those are the final 4 teams that are playing college football right now. The final teams remaining in the CFP. And there's only one SEC team in there, and that would be Ole Miss. Now, there's a chance that the SEC can break their drought of title game appearances, but it would require Ole Miss to beat Miami, again, still without their head coach, which I don't think it really even stops them anymore. I think they've proven they're pretty good, even without Lane Kiffin. But they have to play a Miami team that went on the road and beat Texas A&M and held them to 3 points, and then beat an Ohio State team who, going into the Big Ten title game, you could have given me odds, Jack Felcher, say, hey, you can bet on Ohio State or the field, and I think my honest-to-God money would have gone to Ohio State.
I mean, why not? Because they're the defending champs, and they've been pretty good this season. But and here's the thing: are we ready to accept the fact that the teams that get the bye are kind of at a disadvantage?
I'm not.
No?
Nope.
Teams are 1-7 now, coming off the bye in the second round of the playoff.
I think only 2 of the 7 losses, though, were upsets.
It's true. But
because of the format last year.
Yeah.
And then this year, I think Oregon was favored to beat Texas Tech.
I mean, Indiana had no problem.
Indiana had 0 problem.
But I mean, these other, like Ohio State, I mean, they fell behind 14-0 early, and they had to play catch up, and wasn't enough in the end. So I don't know. I mean,
I guess 3 of them were upsets. Yeah,
I still feel like we need a little bit more of a sample size to officially declare that to be the case.
That's where I'm at.
But this is 2 years now where it's like, the teams that get the bye, they're not really at an advantage. Also, because they don't get to host a home playoff game, which I think is bogus and needs to change. But
I think the quarterfinal needs to be home sites.
It does,
because
and then make the semis these bowl games.
Yes, definitely. And because that's my thing, too, when it comes to that, like, quick sidebar. I think I would much rather be given an easy win. By easy win, mean not have to play, an automatic advancement, because I don't want to have to play all of those games, because there's a non-0% chance that you lose that first game, right? I think Texas A&M would have loved to have had a bye. I would think that Oklahoma would have loved to have had a bye.
Everyone would have loved to have a bye because you're one step closer.
Exactly.
It makes the path easier. You get to rest. Now, the consolation is you get a home playoff game if you don't get the bye.
Yeah, which is not a bad consolation at all. But I do think the quarterfinal round should be campus games.
Yeah, especially if you're Indiana, can you imagine Bloomington, a freaking home playoff game? What that would do for. And talking about yesterday, I mean, think about all the revenue. Like a town like Oxford made $30 million in a weekend hosting a home playoff game. Like a town like Bloomington. I've never been to Bloomington, but I can imagine it's not a big town, and probably
you're probably correct.
Probably could use a lot of that money. So, but that's a whole topic for another day. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to these playoff games, man. I'm looking forward to NFL this weekend. I know we'll get into that here in a little bit, but yeah, man, so good football coming up this weekend.
We're looking forward to it because we're fans of the sport. Greg Sankey might be watching it a little more nervously tomorrow, because if Miami were to beat Ole Miss, then that guarantees for the 3rd year in a row the national championship game will not feature the SEC. And in this era of college football, we talk about the Power 4 conferences, but when it comes to the power brokers of the sport and the games that are played in the boardrooms and not on the football field, the SEC and the Big Ten are kind of the Power 2, right? They have the bigger TV contracts. They are going to have more say in the future of the college football playoff, for better or for worse. That's just kind of the reality that we live in right now. And when it comes to the games that are played on the field, the Big Ten would have an edge, because the Big Ten is guaranteed to have a participant in this year's national title game, because Oregon and Indiana are in the Big Ten.
It's the Big Ten Championship 2.0.
It is. Yeah, essentially.
So.
And in this one, the last 3 years, even if you go back to last season and the final year of the 4-team CFP, Michigan, Washington was in the Pac-12. Well, now they're in the Big Ten, so they have a somewhat of a retroactive claim to that. And then last year, it was the Big Ten and an independent. So this will be the first year in a couple of years where it will be 2 teams that, or it'll be a another conference represented, rather, in the modern college football landscape outside of the Big Ten in that conference, because obviously Notre Dame, not in a conference. But if you're Greg Sankey, I think you're watching this game with a little more lemon booty than maybe even Ole Miss fans, because for the messaging, for the branding, right? You really need the SEC to be represented in a national championship game. That's a streak that I don't think, if you are the commissioner of that league with the dominance that you've had, now that we're in a new landscape of college football, it does become a bad look if you're not able to even get to that national title game for a third straight year.
It's not going to go over well with the SEC if they don't make it, much less losing to an ACC team. Like the ACC,
Yeah, right.
You could argue the ACC probably should not have gotten a playoff team in this year.
They were close to getting iced out. It took a gift from the college football playoffs.
Yeah, at the buzzer.
Committee. Yeah, rightfully so. I agree with them putting over Notre Dame. However, they would have had to have leapfrogged Notre Dame without either team playing, and it somehow happened. I don't think any of us thought that would happen, but it happened.
No. So, look, there is a real possibility we're going to see another national championship without an SEC team. But I think, we talk about expansion, because I think we are eventually going to head to a 16-team playoff. I mean, look, if this is a third straight year, and look, Greg Sankey's probably going to want automatic bids for the SEC. I don't know how many, but he's probably going to want 4 or 5 automatic bids, and then the Big Ten's going to want a lot of auto bids. But does Sankey have that much power still if it's like, hey, the SEC is not getting to the national championship every year? I mean, it'd be one thing if this were a few years ago where you have LSU going to the title game, you got Bama winning the national championship. It'd be one thing if we're talking about the height of the SEC dominance and Sankey wants this, and that as we get to expansion. But right now, I feel like the Big Ten has probably more of the control in what the say is. The SEC will still have a lot of say at the table when it comes to expansion here. But right now, it could be another year without the SEC in the title game. And the topic point has always been, is the SEC's run of dominance over? What do you think?
I think its run of dominance, of sheer dominance, is over, because I think we're in an era of college football now that is having a lot more parity. Like, college football is a sport of dynasties. When Nick Saban was coaching Alabama, they won 6 national titles. I would say that's pretty dynastic, right? We went through, I'm trying to use the landscape of like the BCS. When we finally decided to settle these things on the field, and we had a 1-game sample size as a postseason, the SEC did really well. And I think now that we're seeing an expanded one, even in the 14 playoff, the SEC did pretty well, because some years the SEC would get multiple teams, and sometimes the Big Ten would get multiple teams. But now that we've expanded it out, we now live in a world of 2 seasons of the college football playoff expanded to 12 teams. And if Ole Miss loses to Miami, again, we're operating on that assumption in this hypothetical here, because if Ole Miss wins, none of that matters. Then the SEC can still state claim that even their 3rd or 4th best team standings-wise was able to get to a national title. And I think that kind of is pretty vindicating for Greg Sankey in the conference. But its run of absolute national title dominance, I think that ship has kind of sailed. I don't think they're going to get to that point again next year, just because of the direction of the entire sport.
Like, I don't think we're really ever going to see, I don't know, how many years was it in a row that we saw the SEC have a team in the national championship, from like the BCS to like now? It felt like every year the SEC had somebody in, and I just don't think we're seeing that again. Not in a 12-team playoff, certainly not in a 16 if we ever get there.
Yeah, just running through my head before the recent run, didn't have 2 in the national title game.
Who was in it in 07? We got to hit a break in a second, but
you know what? I want to think about that.
Yeah,
we'll get the crack staff on it here. The big research staff that we have over here at 107.5 The Game is going to get on that. But as you guys do every week, the NFL top 5 and bottom 5, and week 18 has come and gone. Who do Tyler and Jack think are the top 5 teams in the NFL, and who is living in the cellar? We'll tell you who those teams are coming up next here on the Extra Point. before we get to the NFL top 5 and bottom 5, I could do a whole show with this as the background. This is so dramatic. I love it.
Love it.
We did find an answer to our question that before this run of the SEC not making the national title game, Jack Velcher and I concluded the last time that it happened in general was the first year of the college football playoff.
2014, Ohio State, Oregon. As we talked about with Oregon in a previous segment. So, yeah, I mean, like, this doesn't happen very often where you're having no SEC team in the national championship. It's just rare territory.
Yeah, and now they're staring down the barrel of it happening 3 straight years. So out of all the people that are going to have vested interests in tomorrow night's game, you could put Greg Sankey pretty high on that list. But it's time for top 5 and bottom 5 when it comes to the NFL. Jack Veltri, I'll let you start with your top 5. How do you guys normally do this? You guys go 1 to 5, or do you go 5 to 1?
Typically, I believe we go 5 to 1, correct? 1 to 5? Let's go. Yeah, let's go 5 to 1. It'd be more dramatic that way.
Let's get that music back.
Yeah.
Dun-dun-dun-dun,
Yeah.
dun-dun-dun-dun. It almost sounds like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah,
music.
because I know for the bottom 5 we go 28 to 32.
Oh, yes.
So,
I love it.
So, all right. So, number 5 for me in the top 5, got the Buffalo Bills. You know, liking the way they're playing right now. And they slaughtered the Jets, and was not happy that Maxwell Hairston, starting cornerback from Kentucky, got hurt in that game when it was already a blowout. So that sucks because he's out this weekend. But
Got Boobie Milesed.
yes, but by the way, the Bills need to move to the red helmets. I think on a more I would like.
I
to see
like them. I'm a nostalgic.
I would like the red helmets for this weekend because look, you won in the red helmets, played really well. I would like to see it again. So that's just me. You can go now. So we typically go one pick at a time. So you go.
I
now.
love it. Okay. Number 5 for Tyler is the team the Bills will be facing in the wild card round of the playoffs, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Liam Cohen far exceeding the wildest expectations. And he posed the question, is this finally the right coach for Trevor Lawrence? The answer is yes, because he's playing at an MVP level right now. And maybe if you want to talk about playoff X factors, like unsung heroes during the regular season who might help them make a long run, Parker Washington did not have a single 100-yard receiving game up until week 15, had back-to-back on the road against Denver and Indianapolis, and he got the scoring started against Tennessee with a touchdown reception. He is slowly becoming an incredibly reliable third option, and with a top 2 receiving core like Jacoby Myers, who's been playing great since he got traded to Jacksonville, and Brian Thomas Jr., I like what the Jacksonville Jaguars have. I could not agree more with one Tyler Head.
Number 4 for me, I'm also going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars here. Like you said, I'm not going to go too deep into it because you just brought Jags right there. They're a good team. I'm a little bit worried about the Bills going to Jacksonville this weekend, but I think the Bills are going to win. But here's the thing. The Jags are playing really well right now, but who have they beaten? Right? They beat the Titans this past weekend.
They went on the road to the number 1 seed in the AFC and won.
Yeah, so hey, we'll see. But I'm going to go with the Jags at number 4.
Tyler Head, number 4 goes, Da Bears, your NFC North champions. Ben Johnson, first year as a head coach. It's not a coincidence that he leaves Detroit. Detroit's offense craters at the end of the year. Lions don't make the playoffs. They actually finished last in that division. Meanwhile, Ben Johnson in year number 1 wins that division. I know Jen Jensen's happy because she's got a playoff run that she gets to look forward to.
Number 3 for me, probably I would say this team probably would be number 1 if it weren't for the teams in front of them. But hottest team in football right now, I feel like Seattle Seahawks. Just picked up a really nice win on Saturday at San Francisco. Good win for them. Seahawks are the number 1 seed in the NFC, and the path to the Super Bowl runs through Seattle and Lumen Field. So give me the Seahawks at number 3.
I think there's a good argument to be made that the Seahawks are maybe the most complete team remaining in the playoffs. Tyler's number 3, the Rams of Los Angeles. The Stafford-Nakua connection, as he's citing, faltered maybe a bit lately, but they're still Tyler's Super Bowl pick, and I don't think that's a bad Super Bowl pick at all.
I think it's a popular Super Bowl pick, honestly. For being a 5 seed, that's a very popular Super Bowl pick.
Has there been a more of a favorite of a 5 seed outside of maybe the 2020 Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
No, I
as a
think
popular Super Bowl pick.
I think this is just about as popular as it can get. Now, that said, they have to go to Carolina this weekend, and they lost to the Panthers last month. But, I mean, look, they have the MVP. So, and they got a pretty good defense, good team overall. Puka Nacua, arguably the best receiver in football right now. I mean, this is a very good team. So, number 2, I'm going to go with the New England Patriots. They're playing good football. Look, they beat the Dolphins. They won the AFC East. Not much more to say. Drake May probably win the MVP. Well, actually, what am I saying?
I mean, you've got it as a 2-horse race right now, which I think is pretty accurate.
It's a 2-horse race. I was thinking like baseball. It's like, oh wait, AFC MVP, NFC MVP. Nope, just the NFL MVP. My bad. This is probably the 1 and 2 is probably Stafford then May, but I could see it going either way.
I don't think you can go wrong with either first place vote, whoever the voters decide to give it to. I think you can make a really good case either way. Tyler Head's number 2 team, the Seattle Seahawks. The NFC is going to run through them. Their 3 losses are by a total of 9 total points. And as Tyler cites here, it's a nasty defense. Well, we know what Nick Emmanwori can do. Maybe the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Legitimate case for that to be coming to fruition. But their defensive line is also nasty. And I'll add in for Tyler, too. The Seattle Seahawks maybe have the best overall running game in the NFL right now. They have a 2-headed monster back there. And they probably run outside zone better than any team in the NFL right now.
Just so we can get to the bottom 5 here, Tyler and I both have the Broncos at number 1. I'm a little surprised you don't have the Patriots in your top 5 though, but I understand it. I do.
They're believer in the Jags.
A lot of good teams to pick from. So Broncos number 1 seed in the AFC. It's gonna be tough playing in Mile High in Denver with the altitude being higher. So you want to start with the bottom 5?
That's right. Tyler's bottom 5. Number 28, the Kansas City Chiefs. That run of 7 straight AFC title games and 3 Super Bowl wins. He asked us, was that a
failure?
Yes. And as the Magic ran out. Yeah, this season is a colossal failure, and the Magic has run out. They are out of Magic pixie dust in that bag.
A lot of changes are going to be coming this offseason, I think. Number 28 for me, New York Jets. Not much more to be said. I cannot believe they went an entire season without an interception. That's just, you know how hard that is to do? I mean, that's insane to think about. Remember when South Carolina didn't have an interception for a freaking month 2 years ago? We thought that was bad. Imagine going a full season without an interception. So, needless to say, Jets at number 28.
A full 17-game season. Anytime that your opponent's quarterbacks have a touchdown-interception ratio of 32-0, like the stats of your opposing quarterbacks being good enough to win them an MVP collectively throughout a year, yeah, you're probably pretty bad. And that's where Tyler went with number 29, the Jets with 0 picks.
Oh, yep. So 29 for you is the Jets, and then we can just fly through the bottom 3. We have the bottom 3 all the same. Raiders at 30, Giants at 31, and the Titans at 32. The thing for me and Tyler all year has been the firing of head coaches gets you at the bottom. So the Giants and Titans had fired their head coaches long ago. And look, the Raiders arguably probably should be at the bottom of the totem pole here as the worst team with the number 1 pick. But, I mean, the Titans had been really bad this year. The Giants had been there all year. And the Raiders, god-awful season. And Pete Carroll's fired now. So
I could justify putting the Raiders over the Titans. I agree with you guys, is because if we're looking at future projection, I like what the Raiders have as a foundation a little more than the Titans. I like Ashton Genty. I like the idea of being able to draft a quarterback number 1 overall. I think Fernando Mendoza can play well at the pro level. I love Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers will be a weapon as long as he's in the NFL. You have a good edge rusher in Max Crosby. Can you shore up the offensive line? That's going to be the next coach's job to be able to help figure those type of things out. But I think that helps them from at least a roster standpoint, that maybe they're a little further along when it comes to the roster as compared to the Titans, because the Titans, it's an absolute mess, and no one goes to their games. It's terrible.
So that'll be it for our top 5, bottom 5 in the regular season here as we now get set to hit a break.
And coming up on the other side, we get to play Would You Rather, which is one of my favorite things to play.
Would You Rather Wednesday.
Yes, Would You Rather Wednesday. We will throw out a scenario, and you decide which one you would rather prefer coming up next year on the Extra Point. It's Would You Rather Wednesday. And, buddy, I love a good hypothetical.
This is a great hypothetical we have coming up here.
Tyler Head pulling at my heartstrings here. Elijah Campbell, Jack Veltri, Tyler Head still on voice rest. Hopefully we can hear from him soon. We figured we could just do sign language, but that wouldn't make great radio.
Morse code could work too. I mean,
Oh, Morse code could.
and
Yeah.
also Terry and I were talking about this. You get like some like AI is so evolved now to where, you know, like in movies and stuff, you know, you're having actors and actresses sign contracts to lend their voice whenever they do die. I mean, it's crazy.
Ugh, I don't like that at all. I think
It's
there's maybe-
just a different world we're living in.
Yeah, that reminds me of that scene in Jurassic Park where Jeff Goldblum's character says, you know, your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not you could, they never stopped to think whether or not you should.
Yeah, literally.
And yeah, that's my thoughts on a lot of things happening in terms of artificial intelligence advancements. But we don't have to worry about that here. This is not an AI-produced segment. This is Would You Rather Wednesday, and Tyler Head poses the question. From a fan's perspective, would you rather see men's basketball or baseball make their tournament this year? If you can only pick one of those two to see playing in the NCAA's postseason, which would you pick?
So I think this is actually kind of an easy answer. As much as I love baseball, I think it's got to be men's basketball because, number one, look at, you know, the financial breakdown from the fiscal year, whatever, you know, the recent years. Baseball actually loses money. Men's basketball, besides football, is the only other sport that makes money at South Carolina. And you brought it up during the break here. The NCAA tournament is so lucrative with the TV contract and the exposure that you get. Like, I would say probably making the NCAA tournament in basketball would hold a lot more weight than just being a 2 or 3 seed if you're South Carolina. Now, if South Carolina is hosting a regional in baseball, I think it's a different story, but that's not part of this hypothetical here, is just making the tournament. And so I would say from a men's basketball standpoint, it would make more sense that that would be more important for this year.
Yeah, if I'm a fan of the University of South Carolina athletics, if I'm cheering for the long-term health of all of the programs at South Carolina, you want to cheer for the rising tide that's going to lift all boats, and that is the men's basketball tournament for the exact same reason you mentioned, that it is the most lucrative television deal in the postseason in college athletics. You need to get a piece of that pie. And I think out of all the sports, right, football in most schools is making a lot of money anyway. It's generating a lot of the revenue for the school. So making the college football playoff is a huge bonus, but it's not paramount. It is in men's basketball, right? And as somebody, I've told the story on the early game too, that when I was at Middle Tennessee State, that's an athletic department that does not break even, right? It rarely, if ever, breaks even. Well, when I was in school there, they went to 2 straight NCAA tournaments, and they won a game in both tournaments, meaning they got 2 rounds worth of that exposure, more money for participating in just more games. And for the first time in decades, they broke even as an athletic department. That money was huge for them. It's a huge deal.
And think about what it does for the mid-major schools, like the teams that go on runs, like Loyola Chicago back in 2018. The money that they probably made is plenty. And it leads to improving your resources. Like I think it was, who was it 2 or 3 years ago with Doug Edert? What school did he play at?
Oh yeah, he was at St. Peter's.
St. Peter's. I think they improved their basketball facility there, if I'm not mistaken.
They're able to funnel that money into
your
facilities.
Point is, a school like South Carolina doesn't necessarily need to improve. It has a nice arena. It has the Carolina Coliseum where you practice right now. I know everyone wants a new practice facility and whatnot, but I mean, the money for South Carolina would be nice to have. So, but I think from just the standpoint of what matters more, I think men's basketball. South Carolina is more of a baseball school than it is a basketball school.
For sure.
I would say that for sure, given the history and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, look, if we're looking at it, would you rather be like a 6 seed in the NCAA tournament, or would you rather be a 2 seed in, you know, a random regional in, I don't know, like Corvallis or something, playing at Oregon State? I think you take being in the NCAA tournament and the exposure playing in March Madness 6 times out of 7 each week.
hell, even if you're one of the last 4 teams in and you get to play in that first 4, and if you win that first 4 game, there are plenty of instances where the team that wins that first 4 game ends up winning that first round game after that. And then you're able to parlay 3 different games into the NCAA tournament, right? Without having to maybe make the actual advancement into a round of 16. That helps out a lot. And I'm just like, it's my personal bias here. My favorite sporting event on the calendar every single year, more than the Super Bowl, more than the CFP, is the NCAA men's basketball tournament. That's my favorite. And it's always going to be.
It's always a good one. So here's the real question, though. Forget the hypothetical here. Which team actually does make the tournament this year, if any? If you're going to pick one, because now men's basketball is 500 in SEC play. Like, watch out, guys. Like,
that's right. Don't look now.
Like, which team, if you had to put money on it, is making the tournament this year?
Oh, man, that is a great question.
For me, I'm going to lean towards baseball.
I think I would too.
Because I think it's a little bit easier considering South Carolina's proven they can do it before, but last year was obviously a bad year.
And they did address the arms.
Yes, they got
some high velocity arms.
They got better this offseason.
Yeah, and so that lends itself to maybe some improvement. And you do have a coach who has won a national title, even though last year was obviously a shortcoming. Maybe with a revamped roster, he's able to do something with that. Coming up next, it's Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Chris Clark comes in here to break down last night's win over LSU in men's hoops. Next.
If you've been frustrated in the past by some of the companies you've had out to your home or business when you have HVAC problems, let me give you a recommendation for a better service. That's our folks over at Krantz Cooling and Heating, Krantz, cooling with a K, KrantzCooling.com. They've been around since 1983. They're a local family-owned business, and I can personally attest to how awesome they are. They've been to my home. They've been to Wes's home. They've installed new units. They've taken care of problems for us. They've let us know exactly what is going on and help us solve the problems as they come along. You can join the Krantz Club to make sure you're on top of your maintenance. They do installations, repairs, and maintenance on all of your HVAC units. Again, they do residential and commercial, so whether you're a homeowner or a business owner or both, they can help you out. 803-672-3224. Go online to KrantzCooling.com. You can text them. You can get a visit scheduled. You can even pay your bill online or sign up. Krantz Cooling.
All right, welcome in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. I'm being pointed at and told to talk, so here we are. We're doing it. Transfer portal day
6.
6.
Yes, I actually have it correct today.
You sure?
Yeah, I did. I was like, all right, January 2nd. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th,
I feel like we
7th. And that's 6 days.
I feel like we need to do a, you know how in a movie they'll do the thing where it'll be like, call log, day 6. And then by like day 31, the person looks like Tom Hanks on Castaway and just is withering away. And
I think I'm about halfway there already.
So when the show started, Tyler, hope you're feeling better, man. Tyler's still here. He just can't talk, so he's pushing buttons. And so yesterday, Chris started the show, and I look over there, and Chris is just like staring off into the void. I was like, all right, I guess I'm starting the show today. But, Chris, is it safe to say Gamecocks have some momentum? You could feel, you know, I mentioned this, I guess, yesterday. I was like, it feels like not a lot has happened quite yet publicly, but it felt like some things were starting. The steam was starting to build behind the scenes, and then you see that start to pay off in terms of public commits yesterday. 3 guys going public, and I think that churn is still there. Like, I think there could be more good news. We'll see the timing on these things. You never know timing. But the next couple of days, possibly as soon as today, I think you could see some more good news come out for South Carolina. But certainly a productive day, and I'm sure Gamecock fans were thrilled that we're talking about the trenches and some additions in the defensive line and offensive line rooms.
Yeah, I think there are several things going on at the same time at the beginning of the portal cycle that gave fans some anxiety, which, I get, right? Like, you would love to open the portal cycle and immediately hear just this flood of visits that are we got 10 visits today or 12 visits tomorrow, and this kid's already committed, and you got, and that's what you want to see, again, provided that those players are ultimately really good fits for what you need. But I think a few different things happen. Number one, some of the info, and this is continued, right? Like, you and I, from start to finish, from morning until the head hits the pillow at night, and frankly, even after that, we're trying to run down all this information. There are going to be things that we either don't know or don't find out till late. Hopefully a small volume of things, but still, there are some things that we're not going to know or be able to report on until they're kind of happening, right? Like the Jordan Thomas thing, like that kind of, boom, here it goes. It has happened, and you're just like, okay, Jordan Thomas, here we go. There are other situations where you've got a couple guys on campus, or you're supposed to get a couple guys on campus, and then ultimately they go somewhere else. And so then there's this perception of, oh gosh, we're losing kids. And then you see your competitors picking up some guys, right? So one thing that we know is you can build a portal class or a recruiting class different ways. You and I have been doing this for a while. We not the portal for a while, but recruiting, you can get off to a hot start. You can finish strong. You can do something in between there. And so what matters ultimately is how you finish. You got to look back at this class and say, did South Carolina meet their needs, of which there are many? Are the numbers that they took, are you just filling numbers? Are you getting impact players? And then ultimately, of course, that's all on paper. How does it actually play out, on the field once those guys get in? So there is, to your point, Wes, is a long-winded way of saying there is some momentum now because now you have 4 commitments in the boat as opposed to 0 or as opposed to 1. And there's this appearance of some further momentum because more and more of the visits have come out. South Carolina's positioning with some of those guys coming out. But there's still a lot left. I mean, we're not even halfway through this thing. There's still going to be plenty more visits, plenty more activity.
Also activity, maybe you're curious about these things. Maybe you track it. Maybe you don't care once a guy transfers out. Maybe some people are in that category. But, Chris, some movement in terms of other players who are at one point were at South Carolina, but are now picking their next school too. So at this point, I've seen different numbers floating around on this. I track the departures by, are you a scholarship athlete? Like, or even further than that, because some guys go on scholarship later on, and maybe there's a little bit of gray area there. I track it by the way the NCAA does it. Were you a recruited athlete, basically? Mm-hmm. Like, were you recruited to be on scholarship? That, to me, is what a departure is. Now, if a guy, I think he would count. Like, if a Maurice Brown second, if he had transferred out, but all right, this guy's played a lot. Like, I would include that guy. I don't, and it's no disrespect, but it's just in terms of, like, the effect on your team. I don't really sit there and count the, like, walk-on guys that are going and probably going to move down somewhere to go play. Because then you start talking about, like, I've seen 23, 24 as a number floating around. I don't really know that that's accurate, in my opinion, to reflect where things are. I've got it at 16, like, recruited scholarship guys that have left South Carolina to this point. Jaylen Brown, that one was, we talked about it already yesterday. That one was maybe actually the most surprising out of any of them. Most of these guys, it's been floating around, hey, this is going to happen before it happened, just to be completely frank and to be completely honest. But so far, at least the tallies I have, you've got Tree going to Nebraska, you got Troy Ball going to Texas A&M, Jaron Willis to Kansas, Xavier Hardy committed yesterday to South Florida, Nick Sharp commits to Michigan State, and Michael Smith going to Syracuse. So that is the latest we have on that. But a very active day for South Carolina in terms of getting commitments themselves. And, Chris, let's just go ahead and dive into all the guys, and we'll probably carry this over into the next segment. Jordan Thomas falls in that category. We see quite a bit in the transfer portal. Is there a prior relationship here? And, Jordan Thomas would have been recruited, I guess, by originally Pete Limbo and Jimmy Lindsey.
Jimmy Lindsey was in the mix, yep.
And so neither of those coaches are even here at South Carolina. But, Chris, your recruiting, like, room is still there in terms of, like, a lot of your personnel guys. I guess Darren Usher probably wouldn't have even been here yet either. But so there's turnover, but Jordan Thomas visited South Carolina unofficially. Like, there was high interest in South Carolina from him out of high school. And this was that run where it just felt like Tyler's Georgia Bulldogs got whatever defensive lineman they wanted.
It was like they were taking on purpose.
It really...
Y'all want that guy?
Not to fuel Gamecock Twitter conspiracy theories, but it really, really felt like they were saying, we're not going to let South Carolina get these defensive linemen, and we're Georgia. And guess what? They can't all play. And so Jordan Thomas is one of these guys that fits in that category of, all right, what has he done statistically to this point at Georgia? Not a ton. But he's got 3 years of eligibility left, which I think is a big part of this type pickup. You're not talking about a one-and-done player. And talking about a guy who out of high school, number 12 defensive tackle in the country, talking about somebody who brings size. He's 6'5", 315 pounds, and this tells you how quickly the portal changes. He was the number 26 D-line in the portal, defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman, as of yesterday. Right now, he's the 31st interior defensive lineman in the portal. Regardless, I think, man, a guy that South Carolina has to be excited about just getting that SEC potential. There is size here, there is length here, there is movement skills here, and it is just someone that you're not really having to project the measurables at all because they're all there. And also look at it like, hey, if you were at, no disrespect, Tulane and you, like, just weren't playing, you might be like, why has this guy just not been playing?
That's right.
If you're looking at Georgia, you're like, they are loaded on the defensive line every single year.
And he's a young player still.
He's a young guy.
Senior not playing.
So,
they're
very easily could he have this is probably a guy Georgia may have been saying, man, we can't get these guys to stay the course and stick around and develop and play in year 3 and year 4. But he obviously apparently got tired of waiting and now is going to be a Gamecock.
You know, it reminds me a little bit of when South Carolina got Gabriel Brownlow-Dendy out of the portal from A&M before last offseason. You know, and Jordan Thomas, you look at it, 2 seasons at Georgia. He's played in 8 games, 5 this past year. So you look at it and has he made a huge impact? Is this the same as pulling a starter from Georgia? No, it's not the same, right? But look at Gabe Brownlow-Dendy. He had been at A&M for not just 2 years, but 3 years, and had also only played in 8 games and was a former big-time recruit. And so you're sitting there going, okay, well, yeah, he's got some guys ahead of him. He hasn't reached his potential yet. There's still some time. And then we saw what he did last year. First year at Carolina, had his best collegiate season. At times looked like the best defensive lineman on the field at times for South Carolina, and really showed some flashes. So, and I think he'll take a step forward this year, and they need him to. So when you look at Jordan Thomas, you went through all the reasons. You know, you can understand why there hasn't been this huge statistical, huge on-field impact, but a guy that certainly fits the bill of what they need, has talent, and I think a bonus that you get potentially, you got to say potentially nowadays, multiple years of eligibility out of this guy.
Yeah, potentially. And that's a position, too, I think, with the guy you just talked about, with Gabe Brownlow-Dendy coming back, you have someone who really took a big step this past season, played a bunch for you. There were times this year where I was going, man, Gabe is South Carolina's best defensive tackle. And then there were times where I was going, well, that might be Nick Barrett. Then there were a couple of games where I was like, Kelly, Monkel, he might be your best defensive tackle. So, point being, you're very happy if you're South Carolina to have Gabe back. You pencil him into one starting spot. I look at that spot beside him as being up for grabs. I would certainly give, based on the way this past season finished, Troy Pikes an advantage and, you know, just an early head start and possibly being the starter there. But point being, if a Jordan Thomas, if one of these other defensive linemen you're going after comes in and is just a stud, there's certainly room on the D-line for somebody to step in and play. And also, there's room for that similar rotation. Defensive tackle for Carolina, a little bit like the linebacker room. Obviously, you're going to play the 2 guys, but they typically have liked to have that 3rd guy to where you're doing, you know, in a perfect world, you maybe have 4 guys for the 2 spots. But if you have 3 guys that are better than the rest, then those 3 are going to rotate a bunch among the 2 positions, and then you have that 4th or 5th guy that's going to rotate in, but the snap count is not quite like I guarantee. I haven't looked at it lately, but I bet if you looked at Barrett, Gabe, and Kelly, probably all pretty similar snap counts for this past season. So you're kind of looking in that room right now, who's going to fill out that. If Jordan Thomas is someone that has all the ability in the world to possibly be one of those guys for you.
Yeah, and I think you look at that D-tackle room, it's kind of similar to last year in that you're looking at it and trying to make some projections. It could be this if these things happen. And last year, it was a pretty good situation because Nick Barrett took a huge jump. Monkel Goodwine took a jump. Brownlow-Dendy gave you some things, right? So they're going to need more of that this year with Brownlow-Dendy taking another step and becoming a leader and Troy Pikes taking another step. Thomas being able to give you some things, right? Having a Caleb Williams, a Christian Ingram give you something. But you can kind of start piecing it together and seeing the vision here.
All right, guys, South Carolina hits on 2 offensive linemen in the portal. We'll break them both down here on the other side. All right, welcome back in segment 2, Gamecock Central Takeover. Hope you're doing well. I'm Wes, he's Chris. As we said, South Carolina adds 3 commitments to their portal haul so far, 4 total. Man, looking at our list of visits and commitments, busy day yesterday for South Carolina. And let's just continue to go in order. We talked first segment about Jordan Thomas, the Georgia defensive tackle transfer to the Gamecocks. Chris, Carter Miller, Central Florida, a guy that he's bounced around a bit, has been to several schools, will now get his shot in the SEC, was the starting center for UCF this past season. And, you know, I think quite obviously, as we've talked about, South Carolina just having to rebuild this O-line step by step. You're going, hey, we need a center. We need a guard or two. We need a couple tackles. And I would imagine they probably are penciling Carter Miller in for either the starting center job or coming in to compete with a guy like Nolan Hay, who comes back and has played some center for you this past season.
Well, as a guy that's played a ton, Wes, and you mentioned he's been at several different programs now. He was at James Madison, actually, in 2023. So would that have been Signetti there at that time?
I think so.
I think so. Yes, Tyler confirms. Thank you, Tyler. So Carter Miller was there in 2023. And you look at his snap counts, man, like 657 snaps in 2023 at JMU. Next season, Louisiana Monroe, 714 snaps there. Last season, UCF. He actually missed a few games, my understanding, with an injury, but close to 600 snaps, you know. And I think that this is a stat that's been circulating. Only a couple sacks given up in that timeline, which you like to see. But center's one of the positions, I mean, really every position on the offensive line is important coming in because, like you said, they need depth, they need numbers, they need starters. You know, right now South Carolina projects, and if you let's take out the transfers for these numbers purposes, you know, they've got 10 offensive linemen back, and 3 of them are from the freshman class. 2 of those guys will enroll early. 1 will enroll this summer in Darius Gray, who's the highest ranked of them all. So you got to add numbers. You got to add competition. And frankly, you're looking for some guys that can come in and start. You got a couple guys back in Nolan Hay who can play center or guard. You got Shed Surratt, who could realistically play any position, it seems like. And he played, 3 different positions last year as a true freshman. But other than that, you don't have a lot of, okay, is this, you know, kind of a ready-made starter? Carter Miller might fit that bill and can play center for you. Center's a very important position, as we've discussed, in Kendall Browell's offense. Maybe even more so than other offenses because, sure, you're making the calls and all those things, but if you're going tempo, you're lining everybody up, you're getting the ball back to the ref, right? Like you're doing a lot of different things within this offense. So looks like a good pickup, a guy that's played a lot of football.
That is one thing that we were told very, very early on is that South Carolina, not just on the O-line, I think you include the O-line in this, but just overall, South Carolina wanting to get more experience, wanting to get older. You look at, look no further than what is probably the best team. We'll see if they win it all, but the best team in college football this year, believe it or not, Indiana. How many just veteran guys does Indiana have on that football team? And not to take anything away from Signetti, and they've done a phenomenal job. I know everybody is kind of trying to figure out what is the secret sauce. How are they doing this? How is Indiana, with not as much on paper talent as other people? You have a fantastic coach. Don't get me wrong. He's done great coaching staff there. You have a great quarterback. And you have talent, man. Let's be honest. You don't just not have talent, but they are veteran-filled in their depth chart. And that was something, to me, what's the biggest difference one of the biggest differences between South Carolina in 2025 and 2024. Look at the amount of experience that South Carolina had on offense and defense and on special teams for that group. And you're just a little bit more prepared for these close, tight battles, yeah. I think, when you have that. So if Carter Miller is your starter for South Carolina at center, then hopefully South Carolina doesn't go 3 and out on the first drive of his career at South Carolina. He will go. The reason I'm saying that, if they don't, he will go over 2,000 career snaps on the first drive. You see what I'm saying? Like he's at 1992 right now. So the first or second drive or so of his time at South Carolina, he will hit 2,000 career snaps, which you just that's something you just literally can't. You can't. I guess you can buy, but you can't create out of thin air with younger players. You have to put in the time in order to get to that number.
Yeah, and the leadership part of it too. You know, when you're getting in those close battles. I mean, Carolina had a lot of close games in 2024. They had a lot of situations where there's a lot of adversity, and you know, one of the huge reasons they were able to turn it around. Yes, they had a lot of talent on that football team. If you look at who left for the NFL, but they also had a lot of older guys who were also really good football players, but they had a lot of leadership experience. And so that was something we were told early, as you said, Wes, you know, they want to try to get older. Now, there'll be some young guys. We just finished talking about Jordan Thomas, who, you know, will be a redshirt sophomore, third-year player next year. That's not a true freshman, right? But it's also not a guy who's played a ton of football. But you're going to see, and some of it's going to be just a combination of guys coming back from the current roster. You know, like look at linebacker. You got a lot of guys who played a lot of football there. You're now going to have J.R. Johnson and J.O. Justin Okoronkwo are now going to be juniors with 3 years of playing experience, second year as a starter. Sean Murphy has been around the block for quite a while in college football. He's going into his second year in the program, fifth year overall. So some of it is just getting guys back and continuing to develop them in the program, which they had a lot of in 2024. But another part of it is not all the guys, but I would say a pretty large volume of guys that they're going to bring in through the portal are going to be guys who have experience. Some of it's going to be at lower levels. Some of it's going to be SEC ball. Some of both. You know, Nitro Tuggle, you know, a receiver they're going after, started his career at Georgia, been at Purdue, you know, played at a couple different schools, has some experience, but also has a lot more potential left. So we'll see a mix of a lot of those things.
Yeah, number 33. Once again, I think this stuff changes certainly by the day, probably by the hour. I think he was the number 31 or 32 interior offensive lineman yesterday. Now looking at it, he's the number 33 interior offensive lineman in the transfer portal as guys still are getting added and entering the portal from other schools. Like we said, South Carolina, not just one, but 2 offensive line pickups. We will talk on the other side about Purdue transfer Hank Purvis, who committed to the Gamecocks yesterday afternoon as well. All right, guys, welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. I'm Wes. He's Chris. Tyler back there pushing the buttons. Tyler, when we getting that voice back, man?
I think it's going to be
1 day, 2 days, 3?
tomorrow.
No idea.
Is he doing, give us a nod, are you doing honey, lemon, kind of like hot water, salt water gargle?
Yes,
He's got all the things. I'm going to give you one more off air. One more tip.
Can't tell them on air?
Nah.
Okay. Have you tried the cough drops that have zinc in them? The Coldies? He's looking at, I don't think he has.
Not a sponsor.
Yeah, Coldies, hit us up. Sorry, I was just reading 5 Gamecock football players named Academic All-District. Good for them. So no Coldies yet. You should try that. He's nodding his head now. All right, we wish. I mean, we've kept the train on the track so far.
Yeah, we're just like, we really need Tyler back.
Come back.
So
just come back.
We're like giving him every possible
come back
medication. Man. Yes.
Hank Purvis, Purdue, visits, commits, relatively straightforward, it seems like. And I'll be honest with you, man. I feel like I got to do some more digging on these guys. I want to tell people about them. I haven't watched any film on Hank Purvis yet.
How dare you?
Have you watched any?
No.
Okay.
Not.
He's big. He's played a lot. He's an interior player. Another guy with some experience. And he graded out pretty well on PFF this past season.
Yep.
That's my rundown to this point.
Use it as a guide.
Use it as a guide, not as an end-all, be-all. However, I feel like we owe the people more. I need to. What else do you know about Hank Purvis? Because these guys there's so many freaking names to track now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to dive in. Like, we are so fast and furious with trying to get names Carolina's interested in, names of people that they're interested in that are also interested in Carolina. When are they visiting? Are they, because, we're talking about
trying to hit up agents.
Agents. I mean, and they can happen so fast. You hear something, and then boom, it's happening. That we don't, and college football staffs are pre-portaling, so they have an entire team. If a guy, one question we get all the time, Wes, is if this guy, hey, so-and-so, Jimmy Smith just went in the portal. Does Carolina know about him? It's like, yes, they do, right? Because they've already, they monitor it. They've already kind of scouted. You kind of come up with, hey, if this guy entered the portal, who would be a good fit? We need these positions. Who would be a good fit? You hear things throughout the season. I mean, think about it during the season. We hear during the 2025 season, so-and-so's probably getting in the portal after the year. And some of them happen, some of them don't. Or some of them enter the portal and go back to their school. All those different things. So, now why was I saying all that? Oh, we don't have time really to go through, and as soon as this kid commits, we've already watched him, he is big. 6'5", 360, Wes, is the listing.
Yeah, there are some people questioning you if that was a typo or not, or if he legitimately is.
That's what Purdue's got him at, and that's what PFF has him at. That's the best I can give you. So, I mean, I would, it's at least somewhat legitimate. So, big kid, played left guard and right guard last year. So, I don't know if Purdue, maybe had some injuries or what, but he started, first game he plays, left guard. Didn't play a lot in the first couple games last year, but then worked himself. He was a starter. And then kind of in the middle of the season, boom, shifts over to right guard, shifts back to left for the last couple games. But ended up with a nice pass blocking grade, to end the year. Again, if you use PFF as a guide. Very low on penalties, had 2 penalties all year, given what you saw last year. Probably something that you're cued into. So, and another guy that's been at a couple different schools, but he's had some experience. He played about, 500 snaps last year. Wes, I don't know enough to sit there and say you should pencil this guy in to be a starter. I think there are a lot more offensive linemen still on the board. There are, for instance, I don't know, a left tackle or two out there that if Carolina was able to sign them, you would go, that's probably your starter. You know, I don't know enough about Purvis to say, other than he'll be in the mix to do that, but they're going to also, I think, create some competition there on the interior.
I look at these tackle spots, especially if you're talking about what the NFL term would be or phrase would be, like a franchise left tackle. It's almost like for most schools, if you didn't have your quarterback and you were going in the portal looking for QB1, and you're going, we're committing a lot of money to this guy, he's starting.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in the NFL, this happens. Like, yeah, we want to talk about competition, but if the front office says, no, we're going out and signing QB1, you're playing QB1. And so,
or if it's time to cut a guy, and you've got an undrafted free agent, and you've got a 4th-round pick, which one have you invested more in? You know, so you have to make those decisions sometimes. That's the reality.
Yep. So I think if you're South Carolina and you're kind of trying to budget all this stuff out, like you're hoping you can find and land that guy who is your true, like, all right, this guy's coming in, he's going to play left tackle. I think some of your, to an extent, your right tackle, and then certainly kind of your center, your guard, and knowing, Chris, that now they may land a guy in there that you're going, well, pencil that guy in. But for the most part, you're trying to build some depth there too. It may be more of a matter of let's get several guys in here and have them fight it out to see who's going to be the starter, who's going to be the guy. And then, you know, I keep saying I think Darius Gray is someone who is going to have the ability to come in and push, but you just don't want to put that on him. You don't want to say we are requiring or expecting this true freshman to come in and start at a guard spot in the SEC in his first year without going through spring practice. And, of course, you got Shed Surratt back as well, who can play a guard or a right tackle, which I think is an important key in all this, is that yes, you're starting over, but you're not building out all 5 spots. So this does bring something to my attention, man. We have kind of been told, because I know there was this question, what will South Carolina be looking for in offensive linemen now maybe compared to before? And, you know, I think there was a lot of talk of, well, will there be smaller offensive linemen? Are you looking for guys who can, you know, we know tempo will be a part of a Kendall Briles offense. How much does that play into this decision-making? Well, from what we have heard briefly, just generally speaking, those tackle spots, you're looking for like limber, super athletic, and that's the case in general, but kind of hyper-focus on that. Super athletic, maybe not your, like, for example, for Gamecock fans, maybe not like your Corey Robinson model, you know. Got to be able to move your feet at that position. People may be saying, well, does that follow over to the interior? I think this pickup and what we've been told is that you will still see South Carolina be willing to go for some of those bigger, more just power-based guys at the guard positions.
Yeah, it is going to be fascinating to see how Randy Clements puts his stamp on offensive line recruiting. And to some degree, he's not going to have as much time to do that because he gets here, the high school class like hay is in the barn, right? You look at those guys, there's some things to like about all of them, obviously, and the 3 that they signed, especially with, you know, a Darius Gray, a Zion Giles. But you go to the portal class, you don't have quite as much time, you know, to sit there and make a 1-year evaluation. It's, you know, stick and move on things like this. But just in, like, high school recruiting, I'm fascinated by, like, what's the kind of profile and style of the guys that he's looking for. And, you know, but you can see that some in the recruiting class, right? And they've signed, I think, some players that have and involved with some players that have some differences, some versatility, some different traits. So it's going to be interesting to watch.
All right, guys, a transfer portal happening from yesterday that was not South Carolina related, but just was the latest example of how overall screwed up the calendar and the rules and everything are right now. We'll close out the show with that on the other side. All right, closing out the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. I'm Wes. He is Chris. Chris, let's talk non-Gamecocks transfer portal in what quickly could be maybe a legal fight that could actually affect everybody. That in the case of, I would say the biggest story from the portal yesterday came out last night while Lane Kiffin is simultaneously sitting courtside at the South Carolina LSU game with Sam Leavitt, the former Arizona State quarterback who has been targeted by several schools, obviously including LSU. Now, according to our friends at VolQuest, about to visit Tennessee. Washington quarterback Damon Williams, who quietly, at least quietly on the East Coast, I think, because you don't really have a reason to watch Washington a ton, is one of the most electric quarterbacks in the country. Super talented kid. Had announced, as many top prospects do now, hey, I'm going to run it back. Going back to Washington. Well, boom, all of a sudden yesterday it breaks that he will not be running it back, that he will be going in the transfer portal. And so, as is the case with almost all these guys, when they say they're coming back, when they say they're running it back, they will have, signed what is a document that we know is rev share, basically. And that's you saying, hey, the school's going to give you this much money, you're coming back, you're going to play for this next year. Well, he re-signed, you would say, with Washington, and now is supposedly going to transfer. Washington, however, I don't know if they've made a public statement, but certainly has let it be known by national media folks like Thamel and Nakos, Classic Leak here. Hey, make sure this is known. They're going to fight this tooth and nail by saying, look, you signed with us. You have to come back, basically. And from reporting I just saw, Washington is saying, we're not going to enter you into the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
So the players still are not employees.
Yep.
So now that's where if this was the NFL, everybody would have been collective bargained, and hey, you signed a contract. There are certain stipulations that go along with that contract. I understand Washington fighting this. I also don't know, like logically, I know that, hey, he signed a contract. He should be playing for Washington this coming year. Legally, I actually don't know if that's going to hold up. And that's, of course, I'm not a lawyer and I haven't seen the contract.
Right, and that's the key part, because I think we could all look at this just surface level. And first of all,
your common sense.
Yeah, your common sense. Like, I am all for and always have been for player rights. But this is just kind of like, all right, this is an example of why we need some type of structure. If we're going to get college sports closer to professionalization, which it pretty much is. I mean, in the NFL, you can't sign a contract and then 5 days later, no, never mind. I'm good, actually. And because it's not pay for play, I mean, it is, right? But you have to dress up a lot of this. Yeah, rev share is kind of the pay for play part, but we all know, the $20+ million quote unquote revenue share cap is really just a floor. That's if you have to spend that, how much higher can you go? And so there are going to be some questions about, well, what type of contract did he sign? And Mitt Winter does a great job following all the NIL legal stuff. He advises a lot of different people on it. He mentioned that it is possible that Damon Williams could have signed a contract with Washington that would effectively prevent him from signing another NIL contract with a school, I presume for rev share, because a lot of times when you sign those agreements, hey, we're buying your NIL rights for universities, like any of them. Now, let's say Damon Williams ends up at LSU. LSU could make it so he's signing a $5 or $6 million contract with some outside entity that's not connected to a school. And Mitt Winters also pointed out, Wes, on the whole, we're not putting your name in the portal thing. his argument is you technically don't have to have a portal.
Mm-hmm.
You just unenroll from the school and go enroll somewhere else. So, we've got all these rules that are supposed to be rules, and what we have found out is a lot of them aren't enforceable. They don't hold up. There's ways around them. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out.
So, Darren Heitner, of course, has been
all over it,
highly vocal on this. And he responded. So, some of you may remember, I can't even think of the kid's name. If I can pull it up here quickly, I will. This happened, not same situation, but there was a kid who was trying to transfer from Wisconsin to Miami.
Xavier Lucas.
And Miami, or Wisconsin basically said, we're not going to put you in the portal.
Yeah.
And they said, all right, I'll just unenroll and I'll just enroll in Miami.
Yep.
But I was laughing because Thamel from ESPN noted that, like, hey, this is similar from so-and-so, Lucas, who transferred from Wisconsin to Miami. And Heitner responds and says, just a clarification, he didn't transfer.
That's awesome.
But I'm like, all right, dude, that no offense to our buddy Chris Pascal or any other lawyers, but that's the most lawyer crap I've ever heard. Like, he may not have entered the transfer portal, but the very definition of transfer, he transferred.
You should reply to Heitner and say, did any of his credits transfer?
They didn't. They moved. They didn't transfer. That's not,
only his academics credit transferred, but the kid himself, he did not
transfer.
He did not.
What is the very definition of that he transferred? He didn't use the portal.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
he found a wormhole.
The portal is not going away though, because yes, you can unenroll, and the number of kids that actually are good enough that would be using that as their way of doing it is minuscule.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For everybody, I mean, people forget there's a lot of people who go in the portal who may not ever play football again.
Yes.
So the portal not going away, and portal may not actually mean anything, but it is necessary for a lot of guys in order to get the interest of, hey, I'm available at this point. Just from a logistics standpoint, it makes it easy to transfer to another school. All right, we're out of time. I'm Wes. He's Chris. We'll see you tomorrow.